Hello, everyone. 6 years ago, over Labor Day weekend, we established the FOXG1 Research Foundation to drive a better future for our children. And there's a new term that other patient-led advocacy groups are using that I think really fits us, which is I am a buffalo. So what does that mean? When there is a storm, a big storm that happens, which I think is a good analogy for the day that we all received the diagnosis, cows will tend to hide in a storm. They're scared, they want the storm to be over, they run for shelter. But buffaloes are bold, they're fearless, they run into the storm and to the other side. And what we are doing is very similar. We are running headfirst into the storm of FOXG1 syndrome to find a better way to the other side. And we are actually part of a much larger initiative of citizen-led drug development. This is actually the first time in human history that such an initiative has started. We kind of take it for granted, those of us working in the space. But normally, patients, even if you look up the word patient, it's really to be patient, right? And it's a passive word, and you're waiting for your clinician, you're waiting for a drug company to build better drugs, but you are in the passive passenger seat. And that is no longer what is happening. We are actually at the forefront of a major initiative going on right now in the world on citizen-led drug development. And we're starting with FOXG1 syndrome. It's a really exciting time. And the way that we're doing it is we're doing it together as a community. We have over 100 volunteers across the world focused on this cause. And that's what it takes. It takes a massive effort to get us. It takes massive strategy and dedication and focus to accomplish what we have accomplished and what we will continue to accomplish. So let me get into that. There's three areas I'm going to talk to you about, which is our clinical progress, our scientific progress, and the progress we're making with our community. And all three are critical. When we look at other organizations that have been really successful to drive better treatments for their communities, they focus on all three of these areas. You cannot be successful without looking at all three. It's a three-leg stool. And so I've actually got notes in front of me because there's so much today to talk about, and I want to make sure I don't forget anything. So the first is around our clinical progress. You may have seen that we published our patient registry paper. Thank you for everyone who has joined our registry and who has contributed and has taken those surveys for a rare disease, especially an ultra-rare disease like FOXG1 syndrome, where we know of less than 1,000 patients in the world. There's just not a lot of information out there. When we visit our own clinicians and specialists, they may have seen just a handful of other FOXG1 patients if we're lucky. And so these papers and projects are really important so we can drive understanding of the condition, so our clinicians can look and understand what types of medications are other children taking around the world, what are their adverse effects, what are the symptoms they're facing, what are the treatments that they're on. This information is really critical, and unfortunately, it's up to us to put it out there because it does not exist. The next paper that we will be publishing this year is our natural history paper. And this data comes from the platform Citizen. So thank you for all caregivers in the United States that have signed on to Citizen. We have thousands of years of data that we've been able to now collect and go through. We've been able to paint a very detailed description of the natural history of our condition. And we've been able to highlight what's called an endpoint, a clinical endpoint. And this is a symptom that we believe we can measure in a clinical trial. And this is really critical for drug development. This year, we will additionally be closing out our epidemiology paper. And that is a paper that looks at what is the true number of FOXG1 patients that we believe exist in the world. That's coming out soon. And we're also working on something called a disease concept model, which is a necessary project and tool for drug development. All of this falls under our clinical strategy that's led by Ellie Brimble, and we'll be having more webinars and more information on each of these. Okay, next leg of the stool is science. So our science progress has been unbelievable this year. So for the last 6 years, we've been doing, if you look at our path to the cure on our website, the first step was actually creating the models. And so that was our animal models, our mouse models, as well as our cell models. So all of you that have contributed and have donated skin from your children, we thank you so much. We know that was not an easy process, but we were able to create brain cells with these skin cells using, a methodology. They're called induced pluripotent stem cells now, and have been able to run experiments. So we have to first create these assets, then we have to study the assets and characterize them, and then we can start actually testing different drugs on these different assets. So the different drugs that we've been testing are a variety of gene therapies. We've been testing a variety of antisense therapies called ASOs, different small molecules. We've done saRNA, which is a different type of genetic therapy, as well as CRISPR-A. And the amazing part of all of these experiments is that we have found that, number one, FOXG1 does persist through life. So whatever age a patient is, we hope that when they receive a therapy, there will still be impact. Number two, we have been able to upregulate the FOXG1 protein. This is critical because if we found that we couldn't do that, then we would know that there was no treatment possible for this genetic condition. And number three, we have been able to do that safely. So that's also critical. Now, in all these experiments we've done, there are two that we feel that have kind of come up to the top and that we're going to be pushing forward first to clinical trials. The first one is gene therapy, and the second is our ASO. It doesn't mean we're not working on the others and we're still not looking for other therapeutic options. These are just the two that we're now pushing to the next stage. So what is that next stage? Now that we've actually tested a host of different experiments and different therapies, we've also identified our candidate therapies. So we have a candidate for gene therapy, and the next step after that is toxicology and GLP manufacturing. And so what does that mean? So far we've been testing a research grade product, but now we have to actually test a product that we would be giving to our own children, and that's called GLP grade. And that requires a cost to manufacture it. And then we're going to be testing it for safety in higher order animals, so bigger animals, to make sure that it is safe, it's not going to cause any toxicology, any toxin adverse effects in the animal model, and that it's safe to then administer to our children. To take these programs now to clinical trials and to actually, producing a medicine that all of our children can access, there's two things that are needed. One is expertise, and the next is funding. So with expertise, now we hope that a biopharma company will be interested in our data and may invest and will take these programs forward either with us or alone, but we can't rely on that. So we are also making sure that we are self-reliant. So one of the things we've done is created the FOXG1 Center of Excellence. And this is a preclinical center of excellence at the University of Buffalo, run by two FOXG1 parents, so Dr. Siu Kyung Lee and Dr. Jay Lee. And because they are parents and also brilliant neuroscientists, we have had focus and dedication that is really unmatched in the rare disease community. We have over 20 scientists at this lab focused on FOXG1 syndrome. We've been able to build an entire gene therapy lab. We have an ASO testing platform. We have a small molecule testing platform. And again, this is all in our control. So we are completely self-reliant. The funding for this comes from our foundation, as well as federal funds and other funding mechanisms, various autism funding mechanisms, et cetera. So we've got a great operation there. Next, we brought in Dr. Guy Ayalon. There was an announcement about that. We'll have another webinar with Guy. And Guy is a seasoned drug developer. So he's worked at Genentech, he's worked at Ultragenyx, as well as Numora, where he's led programs into the clinic. So there is a difference on creating a drug that could cure a mouse versus creating a drug that could cure a human. And that's a different skill set. And that's why we've now brought on a chief drug development officer, Dr. Guy Ayalon, who's going to be working very closely with Sue and Jay at the FOXG1 Center of Excellence, as well as our various other labs around the world, to ensure we're doing experiments correctly and at the level required, and now taking them to the next level to get to the clinic. And so we're really excited to have Guy on board. We're honestly very lucky that he's joined us, and there'll be more on him soon. And last is that we have, again, two, and this is all in the parent community, and it's amazing. We have two parents, Nikhil and Steve. Steve's in Australia, Nikhil's in the United States. They built a bioinformatics platform using some of the latest technologies. And this platform allows us to take all of our raw data onto this platform and analyze it using different AI methodologies, and also create ways for other researchers to access our data. This kind of platform is normally, the sophistication of this platform you would see in a biopharma company. but we have that within our foundation. So truly what we are doing is creating our own biotech company, but this biotech company is not owned by investors. It's owned by the community, the caregiver community, and that is what makes it so amazing. So in order to have this all operational, it does take money. And so for each program, so our gene therapy program, our ASO program, for us to take these to clinical trials, the full cost is about $15 to $20 million per program. The next phase, the toxicology phase that I refer to, we're looking at raising between $5 to $8 million per program. We're going to have a fundraising campaign that's kicking off, and we'll have more about that soon. But I don't want anyone who's listening to this to feel overwhelmed that, oh my God, it's $5 to $8 million per program. We're not going to get there. That's just not the case. When we started the foundation and we were building assets, we needed $1 million. And at the time, that felt like a mountain we couldn't climb. And we did it. The next phase, we needed $2 million to do our preclinical experiments. And that felt overwhelming. And guess what? We did it. So now we've got a $5 to $8 million goal per program. You know what? We're going to do it. There's people that believe in us. We've now established credibility. And I have complete confidence that we are going to meet this next milestone if we all work together. So let's go to the next leg in the three-leg stool, which is community and access. So for this operation to work, again, it takes unification of a community and also giving to our community and being there for each other as we wait for these amazing therapies to come down the pipeline. Some of you, have seen the news over the last 6 months of the Fintepla trial. So Fintepla is an anti-seizure medication that was approved for Dravet syndrome and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, LGS. What we wanted to make sure is that this medication is available for FOXG1 caregivers if you think it's important for your child. So we went through a lot of trouble working with the drug company, working with academic centers to create a decentralized clinical trial. And if you go to our clinical trials page on our website, foxg1research.org, you can learn more about this. So if your child is having more than 4 seizures per month, you could qualify for this. And the goal is that for you to take this and discuss it with your clinician, with your neurologist to see, could this drug help my child if other seizure medications are not helping? And again, we're not advocating one way or the other. We just want to ensure that the best and newest medications out there are also available for our community. And we're going to continue doing this. Next, you may have seen that we came out with the Zoom for AB's device. This was a really groundbreaking discovery that we found. An 18-year-old FOXG1 child with a very severe mutation who was attending Columbia University and writing essays. And this is in large part due to his dedicated parents who had built a communication system for a child to use who cannot use can't use their fingers, can't use their eye for eye gaze, but was able to actually build something that he can use to write full essays. And I can tell you personally, as a FOXG1 parent, I never thought that my daughter Amara could have this type of cognitive potential. And it has been eye-opening for me that our children are literally trapped in their bodies, but there are ways that we can help them communicate and get the messages out, that it's not cognition. It's just the way that we are communicating to them now. They're not able to latch on to those ways. And we need to think of new ways to do that. So we've had one webinar already. We have the webinar posted on our site. We have blog posts about this. We'll continue to do more, but these are other examples of what we want to continue bringing to the community. And if you're a community member and you have something to share and to help the community, please let us know so we can schedule a webinar and you can do that for this community. And it's a big part of our goal to continue helping each other. We're all in this journey for the rest of our lives. So let's do what we can. We'll also be announcing the next Caregivers Conference. We had the first one last year. It was in Florida. It was beautiful. We were able to come together as a parent community, caregiver community with clinicians and scientists and really learn from each other. We'll be doing that again and wait for the announcement there. So I'm going to end this again with my Buffalo initiative, which is something that I'm really feeling connected to, that we are that bold, fearless Buffalo charging in the storm that is drug development and FOXG1 syndrome. We're managing our kids day to day. We're trying to find the best therapies, the best drugs, what we can help them with today as we work together for a better future. And truly the only way to do that is to come together. Many of you know that I also work in the rare disease space in my day job at Citizen. And I see many communities that get splintered, where you have multiple parent foundations and multiple parents working on their own initiatives, and it stalls progress. The communities that create the biggest change fastest stick together. They work together, not about ego. It's truly about bringing expertise together and trying to get to that next stage. And that's what we've created with this foundation. It's a true community foundation run by caregivers, all working together in a very smart, systematic, and strategic way to get to the next step. We'll be hosting a number of Zooms, as I've already mentioned, to go through all these different areas that I've talked about. But overall, I thank every single volunteer. I thank all of our donors, and I am so grateful myself to be part of this amazing community. I know that all the parents here have my back, and I hope they know that I have, I hope you all know that I have yours, and that we're in this journey for the long haul. So thank you again, and happy birthday, happy anniversary to the FOXG1 Research Foundation.